3 more Canadians have been told to self-isolate as the fallout from the hantavirus outbreak on an Atlantic cruise ship continues.
It is possible that additional cases may emerge, particularly those linked to exposures that occurred before containment measures were implemented.
3 people have died, and there are 5 other confirmed or suspected cases connected with the cruise ship. Around 150 people, including 4 Canadians, are still on board that ship. They're due to arrive in the Spanish Canary Islands this weekend. And from there, passengers will be brought back to their home countries. The U.S. and U.K. have said that they will charter planes for their citizens. Authorities here have not yet revealed what will happen to the Canadians once they disembark. CBC's Mark Carksall has been following the developments. He joins me now from Toronto. Mark, what do we know about the latest batch of Canadians affected here?
Well, Sarah, those details came from an update from the Public Health Agency of Canada earlier today. As you mentioned, there are 3 new ones that are being monitored by public health officials. As far as where they're from, we are being told that 2 are in Alberta, 1 is in Ontario. They are home now here in Canada, isolating in their homes. They were on another flight where they may have had brief contact with a confirmed case, according to the Chief Public Health Officer of Canada, Dr. Joss Reimer. So that makes 10 Canadians in total now affected. 4 of them remaining on board the ship, isolating in their cabins, asymptomatic, still on the Hondias, on their way to the Canary Islands. There are 2 others, as we told you yesterday, who disembarked earlier in St. Helena on April 24th, before the outbreak was reported. Another Canadian, a close contact on the same flight as those previous 2, not considered high risk. And then the 3 new ones there. It's possible, you heard the doctor say, that more cases could arise due to the incubation period, but they do not expect a widespread throughout Canada. And PHAC, as we call it, the Public Health Agency of Canada, has sent officials to the Canary Islands to meet those 4 Canadians currently on the ship when they get there. Also expected to meet those 4 Canadians and the other almost 150 people on board that ship. Protesters. There are many people in the Canary Islands who are not happy with the fact that this ship has been granted permission to dock. They worry about public safety. They worry about the virus spreading out, getting into the general public, despite what medical professionals across the globe are saying. Dr. Joss Reimer here in Canada is trying to assure the public here in Canada and elsewhere there is no need for panic.
The overall risk to the general population in connection with this outbreak of the Andes hantavirus is low. Onward spread within Canada is not expected, even if an infected individual were to arrive here. However, given the rarity of this virus, it is important that we take a precautionary approach to ensure that Canadians are protected.
So those Canadians that are still on the ship will, once they're able to disembark and they are deemed healthy, be returned home ASAP, according to officials. The big question is how. Other nations have announced that they are chartering flights for their patients. We have not heard yet how those Canadian patients will be getting home. We did hear Dr. Reimer say that a chartered flight would be preferable to a commercial one, but that essentially those decisions are still in the works right now.
Mark, you have been covering these updates on this particular story, day after day. The numbers have been changing. They've been going up, not a lot, but they have been going up. Yeah. It is not just in Canada where this is happening, of course. There are new cases popping up sporadically in other parts of the world as, the various passengers have had contacts, right? Yeah,
there's the lengthy incubation period. There's the fact that many of them didn't know what this was, and so they got onto other flights. They went and did things either on the ship or off the ship. So there are, as you mentioned, sporadic cases. In the U.S. now, for instance, there are 17 Americans who are aboard the ship. They will be quarantined. We do know that the CDC says when they are met in the Canary Islands and it's deemed time, they will be flown to Nebraska where they will quarantine. Britain has identified a new probable case on the tiny Atlantic island of Tristan da Cunha, one of the most remote inhabited places on Earth. It only has about 220 people permanently living there. So that patient and their spouse are currently isolating. And there was one case out of Spain that was being reported as a suspected case, but WHO officials have ruled that out today. They are saying, again, there is no need for panic.
Thanks, Mark. My next guest has been living in Tenerife for more than 20 years. Cleana O'Flynn is a freelance journalist joining me now from Tenerife, Spain. Cleana, the ship is expected to dock this weekend. I'm wondering how people in Tenerife are feeling about its arrival.
Mixed emotions, I would say, Sarah. As a journalist, I tend to kind of be able to separate myself from my emotions. So I've been covering this story for 48 hours. So what I'm interested in is what happens next when the ship arrives. In fact, we've just heard that the Director General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus himself, is flying to the island tomorrow to be here when the ship arrives. They think between 3 and 5 a.m. on Sunday morning. As a resident of the Canary Islands, I was here when COVID hit. So I am worried. And I know a lot of my friends, a lot of the people who work down here in the south of Tenerife are very, very concerned, because their main worry is that if this virus escapes from the boat, as people think it might, that their industry, that their livelihood could be affected. I don't know if that's going to happen. All the words, all the wording that we're getting from the World Health Organization is that this is not COVID, this is not a pandemic, but people are scared, and understandably so.
Yeah, and you know, you're right. The WHO has said very low risk to the wider public. But interesting what you're hearing here, that, you know, the very top of the WHO is coming to, I guess, be on site and ensure that there's low risk. Is that how you take this?
I also think it is to help the Spanish government and the local government show that there is the full kind of that there is the full security measures in place. And if the director of the World Health Organization is going to be there, then everybody else can rest assured that there is no danger, or very, very little danger. Apart from that, all of the kind of security measures that are needed for the arrival of this boat are in place, or will be put in place by tomorrow. And the authorities have spent the last 24 hours reassuring the public over and over again that there will be no risk, that passengers on the boat will have no contact whatsoever with members of the public in Tenerife. So I think it's a form of reassurance as well. And it's a very welcome move by the WHO.
Yeah. Given that we are talking about, symptoms possibly appearing not for potentially 2 to 4 weeks, or maybe even 5, I think I've heard as well. In some cases, actually, it could be 8 weeks. Does that in any way affect tourism? And I know tourism, I say that because I know tourism is very important to Tenerife. And if you are somebody looking to visit, this has just happened. Is there concern about that?
Tourism is hugely important. I mean, it's 35% of the gross domestic product of the island. And in the south of the island, it's probably as high as 70%. 40-50% of the workforce work directly or indirectly in tourism. So yeah, you're right. It is hugely important. Luckily, so far, nobody is reporting cancellations, which is a good thing. On the other hand, I have seen on social media people saying, I was thinking of booking a holiday in the Canary Islands next week or the week after. I'm beginning to reconsider. So I think social media will have a part to play in this. I mean, the fact that one small boat with 150 people on it is coming to one small island, and yet I'm talking to you and the world's media is focused on this, just shows the kind of influence that social media and that the world's press can have. And I think I would also say to people, especially people who are prone to post things very, very quickly, take a step back, look at the facts, and let's try not to be alarmist about this.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, we all lived through the global pandemic. So a story like this is naturally grabbing headlines right around the world. And there is intense interest in how it's being handled. One question I have for you is, how do people where you are view the way the Spanish government has handled this?
No, at the very beginning, so on Wednesday and Thursday, when Pedro Sanchez, the Spanish Prime Minister, announced that the boat would be docking in the Canary Islands, there was immediate, criticism from the regional government. So a man called Fernando Clavijo, who is the regional president, was saying very, very quickly he was not consulted. He did not want the boat to come here. And so for a while, people who might not have understood the balances between the regional and the national government were saying, does that mean the boat won't stop? Does that mean the boat can't dock? Now, in the meantime, Clavijo came to an arrangement with Pedro Sanchez that the boat won't dock in Tenerife. It will anchor off the coast of Tenerife. So this is seen as, a good compromise, and one that will enhance the levels of security and hopefully reduce the levels of fear that people have, because it does mean that Passengers won't be getting off the boat and waiting on dockside for their buses to arrive to bring them to the airport. So it will be very, very strictly controlled. From that point of view, the alarm hopefully is subsiding, but the tension between the islands and Madrid, where Pedro Sanchez is based, that still hasn't abated. And, that will be something that might be carried through into local elections next year as well.
And that was Cleanna O'Flynn, a freelance journalist in Tenerife. Cleanna, thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah.